Welcome back, everybody to Let's Play Heroes of Might and Magic 6, where we start a new campaign, the Undead campaign, which is going to be awesome, just because historically they're my favorite faction. And by historically I mean Heroes 3 and 5, because 2 I don't remember. What is this? Hold on. Money. I like money. Yeah, Heroes 3 and Heroes 5, because Heroes 2 I played a lot when I was young, haven't played it since, so kind of difficult to know which one was my favorite. I think it was Dungeon, actually, you know, where with the dragons and hydras and stuff. And Heroes 4 was just a really weird game in the series. Like the Dead faction was actually fused with the Demon faction into one, which I didn't like too much. But it was still a fun game. I mean, overall, don't get me wrong. I hated the faction, Undead faction, the now Undead faction, but the game was fun. Anyways, and yeah. You know what? I got a request to talk about the series, and since I'm on the subject, I might as well do that. So yeah. Heroes 1 I don't know. Heroes 2 I've played a while back. It was fun, but Heroes 3, which comes just after, obviously, was so much better, just trumps it in every way. It's, generally speaking, the favorite. I mean, there's a thread on Heroes community about which is the best game, and it's winning the poll by a margin. It's winning in my heart too. That's my favorite Heroes game. Clearly, I've played it a lot. I still play it sometimes these days. Still haven't tried Wake of the Gods. I should get around to that someday. Someday I will. Not now, though. Now I'm playing Heroes 6 right here. So, moving forward, the series Heroes 4 was fun, but it innovated a lot. That was the last game from 3DO, the last Heroes game from 3DO. I think they were, they knew their ship was sinking, and they tried to turn it around by innovating a lot. That's what they did in Heroes 4. It was just changing like everything. That's why it was so weird. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. In the end, they still sunk, and Ubisoft bought it, tried to resurrect the series with Heroes 5. Which was a good game. in the worst Heroes game thread, which is also on Heroes community, there was someone who was like, well, Heroes 5 was like Heroes 3, which was, well, yes, they were trying to resurrect the game. They're not gonna go for something like Heroes 4, which was like what sunk it technically, because that was the last game. They're gonna go for what really worked, which was Heroes 3, and then they made it look pretty, way better graphics, whole new story, which is what made me love the undead. By the way, the undead were still really powerful. That's why I love them in the third game. Love Dread Knights. Dread Knights is like, you have a big stack of Dread Knights, they actually do what their name says. You dread them. You just see them going like, oh, Dread Knights. Okay, but yeah, Heroes 5. The undead were still extremely powerful, but I loved them because they actually had something interesting in terms of lore. Heroes 3 and 4, they were just this classical vision of undead, which was really cheesy and boring. Personally, I thought that was it. It was just evil dudes doing dark magic and raising undead, and yeah, that was that. And they were evil, and that was that. And Heroes 5, they were like, they were not outright evil. If you're gonna see with this campaign, they're not outright evil. I mean, even the Empire doesn't seem to have a problem with one of their counties being having a necromancer for regency, because Sveltana is a necromancer, and basically you just have a faith, and they maintain the balance between life and death and that sort of thing. It's just, in this world's lore, the necromancers are a keeper of that. They're basically mages, like in the cities, in the desert cities, the academy, if you will. But they have a faith contrary to those, which was, I thought, really fun too, because you have this whole they're considered evil in the timeline at the time of Heroes 5, but not in this game. Like I just said, they have no problems with Sveltana, among others. they're considered evil after they lose a war with the godless mages. They're like, there's a war between the godless mages and the faithful mages, and the faithful lose, and now they're like evil and stuff. It's really, really interesting, I think. Personally, I really like it. And yeah, that's why I love the Necromancers in Heroes 5. But yeah, Heroes 5 was not innovative at all. They just cut all the innovative stuff from Heroes 4, went back to the basics, made it look pretty. They started experimenting with the expansions. Hammer of Faith experimented with spells that cost money, the runes. I don't really like it, personally. Tribes of the East experimented even more with the alternate upgrades, which were awesome. They redid Necromancy, which was also awesome. And the Orcs with their rage and no magic stuff, which I'm not sure I liked either. But yeah, so they were starting to experiment a little bit. And then 6 comes out, and this game really experiments. They push the experiment side of things. They go off the path of the what worked, which they needed to do. I mean, they can't keep on doing that thing that worked all the way back then and just try to make it look pretty all the time. They have to bring something new, which is what they're trying to do here. And a lot of people don't like it. Well, because of the bugs. That applies to any game. But outside of that, they made a lot of changes, and some people don't like it. Personally, I do like it. Changes include the simplified economy. Obviously, this is just one rare resource, but then again, it's not that simplified, because you still have to get that freaking resource and use it properly. Which is basically the same thing. I mean, yeah, there's just less resources. I'm not exactly sure how it affects the game yet. What do they do? They completely remove the random element in leveling up. You just put it where you want, which actually does not simplify, but complexifies everything. Because you have so many choices. You have to do your build. It's really interesting. Interesting. It's an RPG element. I mean, people were talking, yeah, RPG, blah, blah, blah. They emphasize this. Yes, then again, this is mostly to remove the randomness, I feel. Because in the end, everyone's gonna have a build worked out. Like, if you give it a lot of time, places like Heroes Community, they're just gonna have builds mapped out that are just pretty good, and you can just choose your own build. You can make little variations on these, but basically you follow a certain line that are really good. So in the end, it just equalizes stuff, because everyone can have approximately the same hero, because the heroes from one faction to the next are very much alike. There are few differences. There are some, but few. So it just equalizes everything on the level hero. And yeah, that's one change. They simplified logistics with the pool, the common pool of recruitment. They simplify logistics so much, because before that you just had to have someone start from your first castle that's all the way in the back, and have a hero start from there and bring all the army from that castle to the front if you wanted that army to play any role in any kind of battle. That's a lot of movement and not a lot of action, insofar as it was boring, it was repetitive and boring. They kind of simplified all that. You can just recruit it at the front. It's there already. You don't have to spend time and energy on that. One thing that's different too, I feel like, is the creature abilities feel so much more powerful than in the other games, which complexifies the whole battle, because you have to take into account those abilities. They really make a difference. The healing resurrects stuff. Like, you have a basic core unit for the undead and for the haven that are gonna resurrect stuff. It's just that's powerful. and all the undead forces, the core undead forces, take less damage from something or other. Skeletons, it's just range, but the other two, they just take less physical damage. They're more vulnerable to magic. It just makes a difference. And I couldn't speak for just any creatures. So the battle, I feel, is just way more complex, because you don't get an edge from your hero because you had more luck, or you don't lose an edge because you had bad luck. And you have to basically just... It feels way more strategy heavy. I mean, the people were saying, yeah, this is more RPG heavy. I think it's the most strategic game, because you're gonna have pretty much the equivalent in terms of hero, and what's gonna make the difference is how you handle the battle, because it's not even gonna be the logistics, or it's most likely not gonna be the economy either, because those two are simplified. The focus of the game is not on that anymore, it's on the battle. That's what is so complex, because you have to take into account every ability from your side and use them correctly, and you have to take into account the abilities of the other side. And that's why I like this game, because I like the strategy aspect of the Heroes series, and this seems to put the emphasis on it. Mind you, if the balance is not right, I have no idea how the balance is in this game. If the balance is not right, this game is ruined. Outside from bugs, I mean, if it's really buggy, it's not really fun. But if they can't balance this right, the game's not gonna work, because the emphasis, I feel like, is on the battle. If you can't have good battles, you're just not gonna have a good game. That's just logical. So I think some of the choices relate to that too, because there are less factions than any other game, I think. Maybe Heroes 1 had this many factions. I don't actually know how many factions there are in Heroes 1, but every other Heroes game had more than 5 factions, I'm pretty sure. But balance is more easily achieved if you have less factions. That's just common sense. So I'm thinking that maybe why there's less, because they want to balance better. They really want to achieve that balance, really. The heroes from one faction to the other are not very different. I'm hoping it's gonna be they're going to singularize every faction more with expansions and stuff, but for now they should keep it that way to reach that balance more easily, because I doubt it's balanced. No game is balanced on release. There's just, don't expect balance on release. It's just silly. I think that's what I had to do. I'm hoping they reach the balance with this game, and then they start fiddling around with the other games, adding more factions. Get back the alternative upgrades. That was so awesome. It's gonna be hard to balance, but it's gonna be so awesome. I love this, and I had an idea with this too. I don't know if I should be talking this long though. I should probably start the campaign. Okay, I'm just gonna say this idea because I was thinking about it and I loved it. You know, they're back in the past, and they should revisit the other seemingly big events of the past that they couldn't really cover in the 5th game. And the idea I had was with the elves. You know how they had this demon intervention happen, and then the demons killed this queen, and some elves accused some other elves, and those other elves eventually went down into the caverns and became the dark elves. So I was thinking, for an expansion, you just put one more faction, the elves, and you also put the alternative upgrades in this expansion. And what happens is you simulate this whole civil war where one half of the upgrades are the good elves, quote unquote good elves, the wood elves, if you will. And the other half of the alternative upgrades for the new faction, the elves, are going to be the dark elves, and you have them, you know, in the campaign fight it out and everything, and it's just one more faction, and there are alternative upgrades. And then in another expansion, you can just put the dungeon, which is the Dark Elves, in a new faction. You just tone down the dark aspect of the alternative upgrade, and you just you create a new dungeon and you have them battle it out to conquer the underground world, because when they introduced the dwarves, they had this seemingly epic battle rivalry between dark elves and the dwarves. And I'd also like to know that it says they enslaved the Minotaurs all the way back when they first arrived there, meaning the Minotaurs could be a possible faction. I would love that. A Minotaur city and the Dark Elves just outright conquer and stuff. There's some cool stuff to be had. But yeah, my hopes right now for this game, eventually through patches, just get the balance right. I doubt it's balanced. I'd be really surprised if it was balanced. Get the balance right, and then in expansions, just expand the game with the cool stuff, more factions, alternative upgrades, that kind of stuff, that kind of cool stuff. So, I talked way too much, and I have no idea what time it is. God dang it. I'm gonna check real quick how much time I think I have left, and then we're gonna get going.